You watched any of Midnight Mass?
I watched the first 3 episodes.
Okay, so you're one episode beyond me.
Okay, I think I watched the third one. I can't quite recall. No, I watched the first 2 episodes, that's all.
I was looking for something kind of spooky to watch.
I think I described it as when I was watching it as like, it's kind of Twin Peaksy-ish.
Sort of, yeah. It reminds me a little bit of, did you watch the Castle Rock show that was on Hulu?
I didn't.
It reminds me of that because I just have a hard time believing that anyone would be in that town anymore. It's like, what?
That's the thing.
It just doesn't really, like, where's the grocery store? Where's I mean, I understand that things like that do exist, but it seems like the population is so small and it's so far away from the mainland. It just doesn't seem like anyone would still be there. You know what I mean? Like, they needed to maybe make the population a little bit more, like get some more extras, just so you believe that like the entire town isn't like the 15 people that are the main characters of the show.
The first thing I did when I was watching Midnight Mass was like, the first thing I said was like, there's absolutely no shot that this town really exists.
Yeah.
Because like, beachfront property like that,
Exactly.
There's no way that it wouldn't have been fucking immediately gentrified by the richest people. Like,
well, the only reason it maybe would be because it's just so far off the mainland. Like, when they're taking that boat there, it's not like you can see the mainland from the island. It's like out in the ocean. You know what I mean? It's like halfway to England. You know, it's like,
yeah. Well, my suspicions, because I looked it up.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, they built the town off of a public park near Vancouver.
Yeah,
so,
it's vaguely based on Governor's Island, I guess.
Yeah.
In New York.
Yeah, so like as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, that makes perfect sense. There's no way this town would be as robust as it is, because like every house was dilapidated. It looks like an old prospector's like selling.
Well, that's the problem. It's like it's like 150 miles to a Home Depot.
Yeah,
no one's seen a can of paint in the. But that's the funny thing too, because like the main character's house, he has like an open floor plan and like a kitchen island facing an open living room. I was like, okay,
how did they get that shit out there?
This would never exist in this style of house built at this time. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Wait, well, I mean, built at this time.
Well, the time when those houses were built, they'd be much smaller rooms, no open floor plan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it almost seems like maybe his parents are millionaires, and they were like, "We want the interior of this house to be nice, but we want the exterior to look dilapidated. Yeah. We don't want our neighbors to know how rich we actually are."
I guess.
So open floor plan with a nice kitchen, but rotting deck.
It doesn't. It's not that it looks nice. Like, it's been set decorated to make it look kind of run down, but just the basics of the kitchen. You know what I mean? They don't comport with that style of house at all. You know
no,
what I mean?
It doesn't. It doesn't.
It looks like it makes it easier to film, right? Because it's a big open space and you can get your cameras in there and move everybody around and stuff. But I imagine houses on that island, if it were real, would be small with tiny ass rooms and low ass ceilings.
Yeah. So like,
well, that's his. But even that,
I mean, that's nice still.
Yeah, it's pretty huge nice. High ceilings.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Wood floors.
The wood looks pretty new.
It does look new. It's been like sanded.
Even the floors look nice.
It's not gray.
Yeah, this isn't a bad setup here. The appliances. I mean, if they didn't look rusted, they would be.
They're retro, man.
Yeah, this is definitely restoration hardware chic. But like, if they restored this stove and this fridge, that's a pretty penny there. No, but I don't know what to think about the show. I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I don't like it. I mean, I guess I'm only 2 episodes in, so it's.
I'm intrigued, and we'll see if they blow it or not. Most shows blow the intrigue by the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Wait, so we saw episodes 2.
Yeah, I saw episode 2.
So that dude is walking by that house,
okay.
And then the door.
Exactly. Aaron and I were dying. We were like, "Yeah, right."
Yeah, exactly, dude. You know what I mean? Exactly. And he's almost like completely past it when the door opens and he turns and looks and he's like, "Hello?"
Yeah.
And then he like starts walking over. I'm like, "What the
scariest environment imaginable?"
Yeah, exactly. And it's like there's no light in this place at all. He doesn't even try to use his cell phone as a light. So he walks into like a completely pitch dark whatever that place was. It's
well,
like,
just when he hears his own voice coming
when he
back
hears his
at
own
him,
voice as a super delayed echo,
he would be running as fast as he could
Yeah.
off the island. Like, okay, that was super weird. But no.
like there are about 7 points where it would have been
Yes.
like, okay, here's where you turn. Okay, now here is where you turn around.
That is annoying, and it's somewhat immersion breaking. And this idea that it's like characters doing things that people would never ever do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that.
I mean, he's got no reason to go in there. It's not it's his house.
No, exactly. He was just
he's
walking
got to
by
go
it.
home there. You know what I mean? Like if he had to go there, there was some reason for him to deal with it.
Yeah.
Like if it was on the boat or something, and he had to get back to the mainland or whatever. That'd be one thing.
Or like if you really want to put like a Rube Goldberg kind of situation, he drops something and like one of those cats or something grabs it and runs into the house or whatever.
Even that would be pretty shoehorned. But
That's very shoehorned, but it would make more sense than just there's a creepy death room.
Yeah,
I'm gonna walk right in there.
You know what I mean? Maybe he's sleeping maybe he that lives on the mainland because he's a drug dealer. He's back and forth. Maybe he sleeps on the ferry at night. And it is his job just to kind of take care of it. And he was headed back to the ferry. Maybe the things on the ferry, it's all dark.
Yeah.
You could have gotten the same mileage out of there without having, him make a random detour to the spookiest environment imaginable.
And then subsequently be slaughtered.
Yeah, it was rough,
we suspect.
Dude.
I guess we don't know what really happened, but it sounds like he got taken.
Basically, this is my thing. I think the idea is that the guy, it's just like what the dude who was complaining about, the whole thing about how does God let this stuff happen. It's like the preacher is there to balance he's there to balance the checkbook. You know what I mean? He's like, yeah, there's been some bad stuff, so I brought this thing in the box, and for every it can make some miracles happen, but it's gonna take its pound of flesh. And we'll start with the drug dealers, work our way up to the dog poisoners, and eventually, maybe the lesbians and or unwed mothers will be on the plate, as we move,
So you suspect that the priest is the one that brought that
yes,
creature?
very much so.
Okay.
Has he not? Because remember the thing echoes what you do. Remember when he brings his case in, he puts it in his house, he knocks on it 3 times, and there's knock 3 times coming from inside the case.
I must have been getting a drink or something at that point.
And honestly, I think the actual priest is actually the monster. I don't think it's him, like his character. I think that it's some aspect of, because it looks like him. In the dark, it seems like it's like the actor is playing the monster. It may not be the actual priest, but I'm saying that, it's kind of like those old X-Files things where it's like, the guy makes the golem and the golem, I guess, and not golem, but from Lord of the Rings, the golem that goes out and does his bidding. He's mad at people and stuff. You know what I mean? Or and it, I might be combining a couple of episodes, but it bears his likeness on some level. I think it's a similar kind of deal.
Just out of curiosity, I know nothing about this show, so 90%. So it's pretty well lauded, 91%. The arrival of a charismatic priest brings miracles, mysteries, and renewed religious fervor to a dying town. Okay, well, interesting. Yeah, I'm going to keep watching it. I started that, and I also started Squid Games, because everyone's been talking about Squid Games.
Yeah, I haven't watched that yet.
I think I also have only watched the first 2 episodes of that one. It's all right. I struggle with whether I want to say that it lives up to the incredible amount of hype that it's getting.
Yeah, it probably doesn't.
I don't think it does.
You know what I mean?
But it's also one of those shows, and the reason why I've only watched 2 episodes of that one, it's one of those shows that it feeds off of misery. It's a misery porn kind of show. And you know how I feel about those types of shows. I don't want to sit around feeling shitty every time I watch something.
All I know is man, it must be rough in parts of Korea, dude. Because some of their movies, like Old Boy, and they're hardcore. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that for starters, I love Korean movies, especially horror movies. Their horror movies are really fucked up, but not in a Gorno kind of way,
Yeah.
just psychologically interesting. and they have different ways of playing on aspects of fear. That's, I guess, is cultural. I don't know what drives that. I would have to imagine a part of it is probably, just a history of war and subjugation and torture and all that kind of shit, stemming from their antagonistic relationship with Japan throughout history, and then their relationship with Russia and North Korea, and the war there, and it's a cold country. It has some pretty rough winters. All of that I imagine has to feed into it in one capacity or another. But a lot of these social commentary things, like Parasite and Squid Games, is strictly social commentary.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like Parasite, just gorier. You know what I mean?
It's funny. I watched. I'm
messaging, I guess.
Yeah, I'm a Conan O'Brien fan, so I watch his Conan Without Borders travel thing.
Yeah,
they're entertaining. He had one where he went to South Korea, and at the start, he's just kind of laying out South Korea for people, I guess, who aren't super familiar with it. And he talks about how it's had an economic boom post Korean War.
South Korea is experiencing a golden age of rapid progress and economic growth. In just 25 years, the previously war-torn country has risen to become the world's 12th largest economy.
And all of this other prosperity that's blossomed up through their economy. And really, it just seems like they're going through the same thing that a lot of other first world kind of economic superpowers are going through, which is an incredible wealth disparity, and trying to come to terms with how that psychologically impacts your society. And Squid Games is nothing if not a ruthless exoneration of people who find themselves at the mercy of predatory capitalism, because what the premise of the show. It's the premise of it is, without spoiling anything, is it's a bunch of people that are forced in some capacity to play these kind of games.
Well, they signed up for it.
But
then once they realize, it's actually the murder games, I want to go home. They're like, sorry, you're in the murder games.
All right, I'm gonna do a little bit of spoiler, just soupçon of spoiler. So it was an interesting twist to see, because I wasn't expecting it. The first episode, they all show up there. It's all the people who are a part of the game are people who are incredibly in debt, in ways that there's just no rational way for them to come out of. So they're just desperate people in general.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not watching it.
Yeah. I told you, it's one of those.
I was poor for far too long to watch any show where the main horror is being poor. That's one of these. I didn't like Parasite that much. I was like,
dude, I love Parasite.
I thought it was fine. I didn't think
it
wasn't the best movie of that year, in my opinion.
Okay, fair enough. But so they get there and they think it's all normal, but they're playing green light, red light, green light. Yeah. Okay. But the twist on that is it's a big giant robot girl, and she's counting whatnot, and then when she says green light and then she says red light, her robot head turns around, and her eyes have cameras in them, and they can detect slight movements, and if it detects slight movement in a person, there's guns all around it. It just starts popping people off. So it starts off with 450 people that are playing this. And the first time she says stop and people don't really get what's about to happen, it's just a massacre of hundreds of people just being mowed down by machine guns and shit. So this all happens, and once they figure out what's actually going on, the rest of the contestants get to the end and finish it and whatnot, and they go back to their room. And they're all just fucking freaked out. Yeah. And they make a plea to quit the games, and the people that are running are like, we can give you or the one guy who's some kind of a lawyer, I don't know what he is. Anyways, this dude was I guess he's the only person that reads terms and conditions on anything, because he was actually, there's a clause in there that says that if a majority of the contestants vote to end the game, we can end the game. And then the guys are like, yeah, you're right, so here, have your vote. And they have their vote, and they by a slim majority they vote to end the game, And this was like episode 1, because I expected that they were by a slim majority they would vote to
stay
continue.
in the game because they wanted the money.
Because they were like, with all of the contestants who died, here's the additional money that was earmarked for them that's now part of the pool. And like there's like this glowing piggy bank or piggy thing that's transparent, and like they're just dropping all this money.
It
and
sounds like a very gory episode of Korean Black Mirror. You know what I mean?
Very much so. Very much so. So when they vote to end the game, they're like, okay, and then they kick all the people out. They like, tie them up and blindfold them and drop them off in the middle of Seoul or something like that. And this is at like pretty much the beginning of the second episode, I think. And from there, like it does this really fucked up thing where like a lot of the key characters, it shows how they really have nothing to return to. Like their best recourse is to continue those games. Like,
so they can go back and try to do it.
Well, I had to stop watching. I was like, "Fuck this, dude!"
I guarantee you they'll be back.
So yeah, but I know they're going to be going back to that island to do that shit.
It's on an island.
It is on an island. Of course, it's on an island. But yeah. So when I saw that part of it, I was like, that's actually interesting because it really the first episode dives into the social commentary on, the structures of society and how it pushes people into these desperate situations. The second episode, at that point, seems to dive more into the personal aspects of what people's lives are like in that situation. Less of a broader social critique and more of like an independent sort of examination of characters who, you get to know and kind of like in the first episode. So I was like, oh, that's kind of a unique way to do that. And if you really love those characters in that first episode, I see how you can like get really into the show and then like get invested and think it's the best thing ever. Not me. Not that I hate those characters, but I just can't do the misery porn. It's never been like Game of Thrones had a special exemption from me because of like the swords and the dragons and shit. Like you get a special pass, dragons. But anything else like that, I can't do it.
And what were the other like hardcore misery shows?
Breaking Bad or
Breaking Bad. Well, yeah. I see. I wouldn't call that misery porn, as I would call that downward spiral. See, that's almost a different type of show where a character who is a good person makes a series of bad choices and they go on a downward spiral. Ozark is like that. Breaking Bad is like that. There's a bunch of other shows like that where you basically watch someone devolve into like a monster or something.
Yeah.
I don't like that. Like Mayor of Easttown, great show, but that show
is that misery
was fucking
porn?
misery porn.
It looks
dude.
like it.
You know what I mean?
It looks like it.
It was great, but man, it was like, dude, this shit is fucking bleak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Castle Rock, hardcore misery porn. Like that shit was supernaturally bleak.
Can you remind me what Castle Rock is again?
It was on Hulu, and it wasn't a Stephen King story, but it was like all of his stories.
Won World War II?
No, that's Man in High Castle.
Man in
I
High
didn't
Castle,
watch
okay.
it. I watched like a few episodes of it.
Getting my castles mixed up. Is that the one with Nathan Fillion where he's the author?
Nathan Fillion.
No, that's Castle on ABC.
You're like, that would have been a great joke if I had known who Nathan Fillion was.
I've run out of Castle references.
Firefly, but it didn't work. But it was cool. It was good. I liked it the way it went. It was like a mashup of like all these different Stephen King themes and thing, that kind of stuff. It wasn't like one specific story, but it was just his vibe. He didn't write it. It was just some writers basically, just kind of imagined a story that Stephen King, like a Stephen King anthology. And that was cool, but man, it was bleak. I mean, that show was just fucking bleak, they went to great lengths to talk about how bleak it was to live in this town, What else is pretty rough? What else was the kind of same kind of deal?
I mean, I avoid those things, so I've peaked, I think, in my... Didn't you once... I think you once told me that Battlestar Galactica was like that.
Yes. Oh my God, yes. There are multiple episodes in that show where guys have guns at each other's heads.
Yeah.
And they're like, do it. Like one time, fine, but more than once? Holy shit, you know? Yeah, that show was rough like that. You know what I mean?
Battlestar Galactica.
That show just ended up spinning its wheels.
Samantha Sloyan. Let me go back to my share. Highest rated Hush, lowest rated Miss Virginia. I don't even know what that is.
I like how they list your highest
and your lowest. They gotta let you know. They can't just give you the uppers. They gotta give you the downers too. Like
that's rough.
It's like, yeah, you were great in Hush, but that Miss Virginia shit sucked.
I will hand this to this fucking director guy. What's his name? Flanagan. He always hires like the same 15 actors.
Really?
It's like if you're in his core group of folks, you were working on shit. You know what I mean? It's like
Mike Flanagan.
Yeah.
What else has he done?
Well, all the
Dr. Sleep,
Gerald's Game, House on Haunted Hill, or not House on Haunted Hill, Haunting of Hill House.
Just mix the words up a little bit.
Yeah, but it's funny.
I know.
Yeah, that was actually the Netflix show. He did Haunting of Hill House and the Haunting of Bly Manor, and Midnight Mass is his next thing.
Yeah. I didn't get into Haunting of Hill House. I tried, but I just couldn't. But I don't think I've seen Abstentia. I liked Oculus. I thought that was cool. I liked Ouija. I thought that was a pretty cool one. I haven't watched Gerald's Game, and I love Dr. Sleep. So, okay, he got some cred. He's got some cred. His lowest rated was Before I Wake. But 66, his lowest rated, is still fresh. He should just shave all that, dude.
He should go Mr. Future. I agree. That tuft is rough. You know what I mean?
You're not doing yourself any favors with that, man. Trust me. Take it from someone who's already taken the plunge and shaved it all. You just gotta commit to it, dude.